Hey everybody, welcome back to Actual Investing. Today I have a viewer recommendation of a stock to cover, and that stock is Cloudflare, ticker NET, N-E-T. So Cloudflare is somewhat of a complex business to understand, so I think I'll just start the video by talking about what they do in a basic level. So Cloudflare kind of hits two main niches, and that's cybersecurity and cloud computing. So a little exercise I did recently is I tried to find some pure play stocks of some disruptive tech themes that I wanted exposure to, like cloud computing and cybersecurity. So what I did is I picked a bunch of cloud computing ETFs and tried to find what stocks were common among all of them. So here we can see, for example, that DigitalOcean, ticker DOCN, was found in all 5 cloud computing ETFs. So that tells me, okay, DigitalOcean is a pure cloud computing stock. Then down here for cybersecurity, the cybersecurity ETFs were very similar, so pretty much everybody kind of agrees what a cybersecurity stock is. But one thing that was interesting is that Cloudflare was found in both cybersecurity ETFs and cloud computing ETFs. So that tells me that this is a somewhat complex business that is emerging as a leader in multiple themes that also kind of interact well with each other, right? Cloud computing and cybersecurity kind of go hand in hand. So I think I'll start with this amazing Reddit comment that I found on r/Cloudflare. Somebody said, "What is Cloudflare? Explain like I'm 5." And I feel like this comment just does an amazing job of summing up what Cloudflare does on a very basic level. So I will just read it out to you, and then we can look more at their website and talk a bit more in depth. So this person says, at its technological core, Cloudflare is a bunch of computers around the world that are connected together. They are then used to cache websites and move website information closer to people using it, which is a CDN or a content delivery network. Also, they have enough network and compute power to absorb and distribute attacks, DDoS, which is designated denial of service attacks. They can also put security shields in front of websites, firewalls, and they do a bunch of fancy other security stuff and serverless stuff like Cloudflare Workers, which runs code really fast and inexpensive, and Pages, which is Workers but dedicated to running websites using popular frameworks. So right there, I'm already seeing 5 different offerings from Cloudflare, but I love how this guy explained it very simply. I think the 2 most prominent uses of Cloudflare are the security aspect, right? So we have DDoS attacks, which are something that hackers do to essentially try to get money from websites, and Cloudflare helps prevent that. So that's the cybersecurity exposure that we're seeing. And then they have the cloud computing or CDN offering, which is where they have servers set up all over the world, physical computers set up all over the world, so that let's say you're in California and you want to visit a website that uses Cloudflare. Cloudflare will then send the information to that California server, which makes the information much closer to you, which means it can be delivered to you very, very quickly. It reduces time. It reduces costs for the business that are using these. It's just I think it's very intuitive, their business. Essentially we have firewalls. They protect against hackers and DDoS attacks, and they speed up your loading time when you are trying to go to a website that uses Cloudflare. So a lot of good, nice-to-have things. Here we see their business overview, defend against website attacks, keep your site online. Both very, very important things that I think are going to prove to be very sticky, right? Once somebody starts using Cloudflare and they like the protection that they get for, not being hacked and the benefits that customers get, like faster loading times, I don't think they're going to want to drop Cloudflare anytime soon, because those are both very important things to have. And we see these 4 selling points of the Cloudflare platform, that's a tongue twister: control, security, reduction of cost, and increased speed. So all in all, this is just net positive for anyone who has a website. They also are very available to small and medium businesses because their pricing is very flexible, so you can get in the door with just a very cheap plan. And then as you scale, you can scale with the company. So that has led to some great revenue growth that Cloudflare has seen recently. So with that, let's talk about their financials. Here's Cloudflare on Google Finance. We can see they had a great year this past year, up 71%. Most of that was actually, not most of that, but a big chunk of it was after their most recent earnings report, where they saw an acceleration of demand due to AI. And look at this amazing revenue growth. So up 32% year over year. Every single quarter is better than the last significantly. We can just see that, revenue has just been going nuts lately. So that's great to see. The one concern I have with Cloudflare on a financial perspective is their balance sheet. Obviously, they own all of these computers all over the world. Computers are not cheap, especially when you own a bunch of them all over the world. So we can see that they do have $2 billion in debt and only $1.7 billion in cash. However, these computers are assets, so we do see that their assets are higher than their liabilities. However, since their liabilities, which is debt, is so high, that means they're going to have a high debt to equity ratio, which, kind of poses some risks and makes investors wonder whether the company is going to be able to manage that debt effectively. All right, so that is Google Finance. That's a very basic level. Let's look at their financials now on Yahoo Finance. If you know me, you know that I like to dive into the income statement to look at things like margins and to see what the company's spending money on. So here we have total revenue in the last 12 months, trailing 12 months, of $1.3 billion. That's awesome. So they're over $1 billion in annual revenue. And their gross margins are very good. So we have almost $1 billion right here in just gross profit. So not too many expenses associated with this business. With capturing the revenue. Expenses in general are higher than gross profits, so they are not profitable at the moment. However, a high gross profit or high gross margins shows a potential path to profitability in the future, right? So this company is still growing. So obviously they are not as concerned about turning a profit because they would rather use that money, this gross profit money, on things like advertising or things like hiring great staff. So the thing I like is that even though this is a tech company, their R&D is relatively low. Their R&D is definitely less than 50% of their gross profit, which is what I like to see. So their main expense right now is SG&A, which I think makes sense for a high growth company because advertising is needed to get the word out and you need great support staff in order to help scale the business. So to me, the financials look pretty good if you can look past the fact that they're not profitable, which is fine because they're growing revenues. So you're seeing the return down the road. You're not seeing a return right now. You're seeing them reinvesting into the business to hopefully become profitable later. So that's okay with me. And it's also just a matter of looking at that balance sheet and making sure that you're okay with that. All right, so let's finally go on to my spreadsheet. And so this is my spreadsheet where I rate on 4 factors. Those factors are margins, revenues, valuation, and growth. So Cloudflare is a bit below average on my spreadsheet. My average is 11.5, and Cloudflare gets a score of 10.5. So they're certainly not a poorly scoring company, but they're also not the best. The main reason is their valuation. Their valuation is very high. I mean, it could be worse, but comparatively very high at 22 times annualized sales. However, typically when you have a higher valuation, it's for a good reason, and it is. So like I said, they have good gross margins of 76%, and they are seeing great, strong revenue growth of 32% year over year. So investors are rewarding companies that grow fast with higher valuations because each quarter, each year that passes, that valuation goes down, assuming the stock price stays flat, right? So if your market cap stays at $32 billion and you grow your revenue 32%, well, that valuation is now going to go down. So I like Cloudflare. I like their financials. Cloudflare is a stock that I own. I think they are innovative. I think their business model is very intuitive and their value proposition kind of speaks for itself. I think it's probably a must-have for a lot of websites. So I believe that adds some stickiness, right? Because customers aren't going to be as likely to cancel Cloudflare's offerings. And I think it hits those 2 disruptive themes that I want exposure to in cybersecurity and cloud computing. So at the end of the day, I do like Cloudflare. I think there's a couple risks you have to pay attention to. To summarize, that's their debt for financing those computers all over the world, their valuation, which is quite high, and well, okay, I guess those are the 2 main concerns that I have is their debt and their valuation. So Cloudflare I like at the end of the day. I think it comes with some risks. I think it's at quite a high valuation, but if you're a long-term investor, I think buying Cloudflare right now and being okay with a little bit of volatility makes a lot of sense. They have some AI implications, so maybe they'll see continued growth through that, and maybe their stock will continue to do well. Maybe the AI thing won't pan out and their stock will go down, and it's too tough to say one way or another, so it's definitely a risk. But everybody's investing journey is different. So if you think Cloudflare makes sense in your portfolio, I would certainly understand. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it helped to explain what Cloudflare does and a bit about their financials. And if you have any questions or if you have another stock you'd like me to cover, please leave all that down below in the comments. And please like and subscribe. And thank you for watching.